for coming. I think hopefully we can go ahead and get started. I think we have a lot of us here today, if not all of us. Yeah, appreciate everyone making time and yeah, being able and available for just to participate in the TAC and to join us. It was a little bit hard to find a meeting time that worked for everybody, so thanks for making this all work. I'm glad that we have a good group here.
Maybe we want to do introductions. I think that would be helpful. I'm happy to start and I'll pass it to Eric if there's someone who could be the handoff. Maybe Eric, you can just keep pushing it along. That way we all get a chance and we know when to hop in. But
Yeah, sorry,
thanks
I'm trying
everyone for attending
to kind
today.
of manage the roster of attendees here, so sorry I've been a little distracted.
Gotcha.
But yeah, let's get going with the intros.
Okay. I'm Jason Graff. Hello. I'm with First 40 Feet, and we're an architecture, urban design, and planning firm in Portland, Oregon. And we are leading this effort, which is the Foothills District Plan Update. Previous work done in 2012, and some things have changed the conditions in the district. A big infrastructure project and the relocation of the wastewater treatment plant, and some other elements are really kind of shifting the focus and taking another look at the district in terms of what future development might be over a 30, 40-year time period. And we're assisted by an engineering firm, Apex, and economists, Echo Northwest, and we've had an engagement research firm called DHM to help sort of get an understanding of the public's pulse on the Foothills District. And I will pass it to my colleague, Will Grimm. He can introduce himself as
Hi,
well.
my name is Will Grimm. I'm with First 40 Feet, a principal here, supporting the team and the city and on engagement and design and implementation, all of those things. So I often say now we're in the discovery phase of this project. We're learning as much as we can. We've talked to so many people. We're going to continue to talk to so many people like yourselves and hopefully gather enough information and get everyone's voice and insight on this and to be able to reflect that in a design. Probably around March, we'll probably start doing that, but we'll continue to talk to this group and the community advisory committee as well on feedback. So I appreciate it, and it's great to be here. I'll pass it over to is Eric, maybe Eric's team.
Thanks, Jason and Will. My name is Eric Olson. I'm the Long Range Planning Manager with the City of Lake Oswego, as well as the project manager for the city's efforts to update the Foothills District Plan that was initially sort of adopted in previous form, at least back in 2011 and 2012. So the idea is that we're kind of revisiting that, like Will and Jason were pointing out, to yeah, reflect some new changes and new priorities um, for the project in light of some, yeah, particularly the relocation of the wastewater treatment plant, but also in light of some new priorities in terms of the city's policies and some changes there. Um, I'm wondering, Jason and or Will, I'm not sure who's running the screen here. Can you
Yeah.
just stop sharing the slide for a moment while we do the
Uh-huh.
introductions?
Sure.
Thanks. I think it's helpful to see everybody's faces. I appreciate the suggestions there. And also just kind of remind folks that if possible, if you can mute yourself when you're not speaking, that just might make it easier to make sure that everybody else is being heard as much as possible here. So anyway, I really appreciate you all again being here, and I'm glad that we were able to coordinate everything to make this work. This is the first of many meetings that we'll have here as a group, and many of them will be technical in nature. Of course, this is technical advisory committee, but of course, we'll be focusing on different topics. So we're trying to keep this relatively informal to allow folks to sort of come to the meetings that are most pertinent to what their field of expertise is, and hoping not to really waste anybody's time is the idea here. So again, I appreciate you being here. There's going to be a lot of kind of introductory information and introductions in general here. So not going to dive too much into the technical side of things, but hoping to at least identify some topics for future meetings. So that was more than just an introduction, but let's try to keep them quicker than mine, hopefully. I'll hand it over to Jessica, actually, who's another individual that's working on the project from the City of Lake Oswego's Planning Department.
Hi, my name is Jessica Newmonaloo. I am the Community Development Director, and I am assisting Eric on this project on the project team. And I will pass it off to Kira.
Hi, my name is Kira Haggart, she, her pronouns, and I'm a project manager for the city's Parks and Recreation Department, and excited to be here and talk about the park side of this. I will pass it to Stefan.
Hey everyone, my name is Stefan Broadus. I am the city's project manager for the new wastewater treatment plant. And Abby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Thayer-Oley. I'm the Public Works Asset Manager, focusing on operations and maintenance of the public works infrastructure. So streets, water, wastewater, stormwater. I'll pass it to Johanna.
Hi, Johanna Hasty, current planning manager for the city of Lake Oswego, and I'll just be providing my insight as a development planner.
Thanks. I guess we'll go to Christina.
Sorry, I always forget that
No,
part.
I totally understand.
Hi there, I'm Christina. I'm admin support for the planning department, and I primarily assist the long range side of planning.
And I guess we'll round things out on the city side with Mr. Amos.
Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Amos, the fire marshal for Lake Oswego Fire. I'm here to advise on fire department access and water supply. And I'll pass it to Nicole.
Everyone, I'm Nicole Nathan. I'm Executive Director at the Arts Council of Lake Oswego. We contract with the City of Lake Oswego to run their public art program, which involves all different kinds of things. So excited to see this project move forward and things happening at this site in Foothills. Lots of things to consider. I will pass it to Rich Martin.
Hello, pardon me. I'm Rich Martin. I'm a property owner in Foothills. I represent 220 Foothills.
Thanks, Rich. I guess we'll go to another property owner on the committee, Michael Hafterson.
Hi, Michael Hafterson, Lakeshore Concrete, property owner here since 1955, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you have some perspective to offer us, that's for sure, it sounds like. Let's go to Elizabeth.
Hello, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Marissa O'Hara. I work for Metro. I'm a principal planner. I do a lot of transit projects, and I believe I'm invited to be on this CAC, TAC, whatever we're going to call it, to represent the Willamette Shoreline Trolley Consortium kind of perspective.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Alex.
Hey there, Alex Page. I'm a long-range planner with Tryon, representing Tryon's interests in the area, obviously.
Great, we're glad to have you. Guess I'll go to Alexis.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the executive director with the Tryon Creek Watershed Council, which is often confused with the Friends of Tryon Creek. The Friends of Tryon Creek focus in the park on a lot of education and cultural storytelling. We focus on the full watershed, which begins in Multnomah Village and spans both counties, both cities, and unincorporated areas. And we are advocates and habitat restoration implementers on behalf of the really healthy coastal cutthroat trout population that live in Tryon Creek. And one of our interests is really the ecological health of this whole area along the Willamette, and particularly the Tryon Creek confluence at the northern edge. I will pass it over to, actually, I'm going to let you do that, Eric, only because I don't want to mispronounce people's names.
I'm going to just throw myself out there and try my best. Jamuna? Is that how badly am I mangling your name?
That sounds great. Hi, my name is Jamuna Golden. I'm a regional parks and trails planner for Metro. and kind of representing the regional trails and park system and the connections between jurisdictions.
Great. Thanks again for being here. Syringa.
I'm Syringa Volk. I'm with Portland General Electric and I serve as the business development manager for the city.
Thank you. And yeah, I guess we have Kenny.
Hi everyone.
Oops, wrong one. Sorry.
We have a Ken and a Kenny, it looks like. So.
Ooh, wow. Ken, go ahead.
I was gonna say nobody's called me Kenny since like 1972. So anyway, Ken Spencer with PGE. I'm an engineer, just here to represent PGE's interests.
All right, and now Kenny, I think you're the last one on the list here.
Yeah, I guess I still go by Kenny. Maybe that will change in the future. I am representing Oregon Department of Transportation. I work in long range planning for ODOT Region 1, which is basically the metro region. And looking forward to working through some of the issues. And I actually got to visit the site recently with one of my coworkers. So thanks.
Yeah, thanks again for everyone being here. I think, we are trying to do this as informally as possible. It is a technical advisory committee, and a lot of the times in the past when we've done that, we haven't formally appointed them via city council, but all of you have been formally appointed via city council to be on this committee. At least I think most of the people that are in the project team, at least that are in this meeting, have been appointed formally. So it's a little bit more formal in that respect, but we are again hoping to keep it a little bit less formal. This isn't necessarily a body that's going to be producing recommendations the same way as a community advisory committee would, but we're going to try to come to you all for as much technical input and expertise as we can possibly get along the way. So that's really, in a large sense, kind of what we're hoping to accomplish here, but I guess we can get back to the program on the slides, Jason.
I can cue that back up 1 second here. Is that visible to all? Just a quick nod if it looks good. Awesome. We've pretty much gone through introductions here. Thank you all for doing that. We've hopefully characterized folks in the right spot: city, partner agencies, property owners. Our project area, just to sort of get into the scope, is basically follows that dark line you see on the right-hand side, which encompasses a pretty large area. Primarily the wastewater treatment facility and the industrial uses kind of sit at the top end. That area A and D sort of represent those types of uses in the district, and just south of D is a condominium, Oswego Point condominiums, and just further south of that is the Oswego apartments. There's also some office and event space near the waterfront and adjacent to Foothills Park. So that runs along the edge of the Willamette River. And our project area, of course, we're bound by Highway 43. That's also State Street in Lake Oswego in that area C. So that's on the west side. The north side is really Tryon Creek. And so that watershed then is really our north boundary, as well as the Willamette River on the east. And then, as I mentioned, sort of apartments and some commercial development to the south. A rail line traverses the project area in that sort of orange C zone area. And of course, that's multiple lines running through. It's Union Pacific owned lines, but also the trolley uses this corridor as well. So we have a number of interests. Oregon Department of Transportation is the administrator of Highway 43, and that's also State Street in Lake Oswego. So we met Kenny here. And so we have a range of jurisdictions at play here, whether it's watershed or rail or roadways and wastewater treatment. So there's a lot of interests both within Lake Oswego, within county interests within regional interests. So thank you all for being here. It's just, there's a lot of layers. And so I think as we begin to unpeel development opportunities, we need to be cognizant of where regulations sit and what plans are in the works for a variety of different either infrastructure around wastewater or managing the watershed. So we're really thankful that you're here, Highway as well, managing Highway 43. So thanks everyone for being here. These letters sort of represent sort of areas of impact. Area of A is where the city of Lake Oswego is working with the city of Portland to kind of take more jurisdiction of that area, take a wastewater treatment plant on one side and move it to another where you see the dashed areas. Area D really represents some of our local property owners who are still functioning, who still have businesses that are occurring, some light industrial warehouse, a variety of those types of uses. There really isn't commercial services here in the district. It tends to be more toward the light industrial, and then residential sort of rounds that out to the south. E is a potential area of long-term change and interest. So some of the colored zones really represent where this effort is likely to have some impact. So obviously C is where we're thinking about additional access points into the district, and B may be influenced by that as well. So the color coding really sets us up for how we might look at these different areas and sort of who's in control of those. This is an extension of work that was completed in 2012. The original plan for the district was to bring a streetcar in from Portland and to redevelop the next great neighborhood essentially in Lake Oswego. So there was a large component of housing, there was a component of office development, a little bit of commercial that would serve that neighborhood, and of course an extension and a robust Foothills Park. So those original components have now shifted because priorities have shifted. The most important is the wastewater treatment plant, which is being rebuilt and relocated, has now changed the geometry of where future development will occur. So hence that brings in a new effort. The city is also, as well as a lot of communities in Oregon, are focused on housing opportunities, both choice and supply. So that's an important component to address the housing deficits that we're seeing across the state. So that will be a part of the effort. And, the city and Metro have envisioned this as really an extension of downtown, which is a transition from its current use in the future to more higher density mixed use development. And so there's some thresholds and opportunities to look at what the scale of that development might be, the types of uses that would match a metro center type designation or a higher density mixed use district. And so our effort will also try to address those regulatory and policy conditions that are really giving some aspirational direction for this property, and we can give some actual meat to that, looking at the market for future development. And then implementation of the district is going to be another key aspect, sort of beyond just the plan update. Some of that will be zoning code updates for the property, but the other critical piece is building infrastructure, and that then requires updating the urban renewal plan. So that will follow this effort of creating a district plan by looking at zoning, and then the other side of establishing a new urban renewal plan. So outside of this effort, but it will be working in conjunction with this, and a timeline a bit offset. Of course, the wastewater treatment plant is currently in design, and that's kind of the initial infrastructure project that is clearly on the table. Some of the other infrastructure projects in terms of new roads and access into the district will follow as a result of this plan, and then work through an urban renewal plan for some of that implementation. Eric, I'll pause here if you want to add anything else or clarification in case I missed something.
No, I think you did a great job covering it. Really, I think a lot of folks here probably somewhat familiar with kind of the previous efforts, and to a certain extent probably were involved with those previous efforts, and to varying extents, not everybody, of course. But yeah, I think you did a great job summing this up. We'll talk a little bit more about the timeline and specific steps to get there moving forward.
So this is the time. Great. Thank you for the timeline. The effort we're in is about a year-long process, and we're, just about 3 months into it. And this is really the model for the framework plan itself, and then setting up for what we'll call post-amendment policies and regulations, creating the zoning as a result of an adopted plan. We are working through a cadence of discovery, as Will mentioned. We've just completed a series of existing conditions reporting on literally every aspect of looking at what the 2012 plan identified as potential issues and opportunities, and refiltering that, knowing that we have conditions that are changing a bit in terms of the wastewater treatment facility and some priorities around development. So we've been able to look at what came out of 2012, and we're repurposing it with a slightly different lens here in 2025. We're using that information to then go to the community to be able to uncover what the challenges and opportunities are around redevelopment. And we'll be talking to the community and affected stakeholders and community members about what they value in the district. Because at this point, we sort of have a loose bullet list, and we kind of know where development might occur and some things that we need to do to allow that to occur. But really what's in that mix is the next piece to understand what people value. We know that the riverfront and the park is extremely important. That is a public asset that will continue regardless of what private and future development occurs between State Street and the river. So we know that that's vitally important, and access to that public facility will continue. But then how do we sort of craft and frame a network of streets in a redevelopment area? That's to be explored once we understand sort of what people see as priorities and types of uses that would be desirable in the district, as well as what's marketly accessible. And so by March, we'll be in sort of preliminary concepts phase. We'll be looking at kind of a basic street network. We'll be looking at a variety of development opportunities within development blocks, how the riverfront will continue to function, thinking about the work of the Tryon Creek Culvert project, thinking about access into the district. We have a couple of points of potential access on the north end that we want to consider, and so we'll be bringing those forward as concepts in March, and then we'll be moving into final draft framework plan after that. So the cadence is sort of discovery 1, 2, getting a sense of values, 3, establishing concepts, and then 4, winnowing that down to a preferred. So are there any questions about generally the schedule here? For the TAC, we have points that we're trying to establish a cadence where we can interject and get answers to questions, dig a little bit more into issues that we don't necessarily have answers to, or begin to share with you some of the things that we're thinking about in terms of what might be impacting, for instance, the ODOT Highway 43 facility, what might be impacting the Tryon Creek and the watershed area, and thinking about, I think in particular, things like cut and fill and balancing that. We know that the stormwater treatment facility project will be looking at that specifically within the boundaries of its project area, but we will be looking beyond that into the larger district. And so I think those are some key technical issues that we're going to want to be able to kind of bounce back information with you all. I think PGE is another element of this, with a couple of substations in the district, and thinking about the health of those facilities and the location of those, and so how that would respond to future development. Those are sort of unknowns that we're really glad that you're here to help us understand those better. City staff are going to be great to keep us in line with the projects that they're planning, whether it's parks related or it's river access, or managing walk, bike, and vehicular access in and out of the district. So that's sort of tying in our schedule with our needs to have you available and be able to bounce information off of you. So there are a number of milestones here. I kind of went through that bar graph. This is sort of just a linear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which kind of outlines those same steps of the process that I just mentioned. Engagement, opportunities, constraints. Really 5 is the final plan, and then the zoning and post amendments will occur after that, so outside of that timeline. This is just some information on what we're generally trying to do and opportunities and constraints. This phase we're in now is really reconnecting with the community. To go from 2012 to 2025 means that there needs to be a reset and a re-engagement of the community that something is actually happening here. So we're doing work around that, and we're trying to understand through the existing conditions, what are the challenges and opportunities that we'll be able to address as we begin to look at concepts. And let's see if I can frame advance here. Looking at then concept alternatives, as I mentioned here, exploring a variety of both access and potential development, refining those, and sharing the draft plan. I don't know, Eric, if you wanted to step into the work plan schedule here. I feel like we're just redundantly going over schedule, but
Yeah, I mean, this is a little bit
help me
more.
move through.
It's a little bit more specific, but I think it still needs to be updated, obviously, with some more specific dates for the TAC meetings in particular. But as you can see, I think the biggest thing to take from this is that we want to make sure that we're weaving, community involvement and engagement, particularly meetings of both this technical advisory committee as well as meetings of a separate committee that we formed for this project, the community advisory committee, which is, more of that sort of advisory body, the ad hoc advisory committee for the project. So thinking about both the relationship between those two bodies as well as the idea of just meeting during key intervals throughout the project. And yeah, I think just really in a specific sense, we'll point out that we're aiming to reach plan adoption in early 2027 and hoping to adopt all the code amendments and zoning changes, et cetera, to enact the plan by the end of 2027. So yeah, I think, this is just really looking up to the beginning of 2027, but, there will be obviously a lot of technical work involved in translating these recommendations and some of the more conceptual ideas to actual zoning code. So you'll be involved throughout 2027 as well.
And I think we've been touching on this, that we're really using you as a soundboard around technical issues that are within your wheelhouse and your expertise, and to help us kind of understand what we need to address and how we can best respond to work that you're already doing as well. So, and to continue to be knowledgeable about the project so that within Metro or within the Watershed Council that there's an understanding that what's happening with the project, and so you're aware where we are and the things that we're trying to address and tackle along the way. There are some key considerations that are sort of top of list now for us as we're beginning to move into thinking about building a framework here, i.e. access considerations. That's one of the main ones. We've been having a few conversations about that as we looked at what we learned from 2012. There were really a couple locations that were identified: Terwilliger Boulevard intersection, and I'll zoom in here to give a little more sense of space here. Those circles on the top of your screen there, that represents the intersection at Terwilliger Boulevard. And then the one below is at the public storage unit, which is between streets D and E. Those would be on the left of the map here. That lower circle was the one that was identified as a preferred access point into the district. That connection is level with the rail line. So Highway 43 and the rail line are generally at the same elevation there. So in terms of constructability, that tend to be a lower path. Of course, it's that path is through a working business, the public storage unit. There is an intersection that's signalized at Terwilliger, so some coordination between a new access point here and that intersection is important for us to consider. We've done some initial traffic analysis along the corridor, updating traffic counts. We've kind of preliminary looked at the feasibility of having an all-stop connection at that location, meaning we can stop traffic and have left and right turns, both northbound and southbound, into our project area. So I think we think that can work as a functional intersection. I think the original plan had this location as a right in, right out, which wouldn't necessarily be ideal from a development perspective and or an access perspective in terms of the community getting to the park. So we'd like to find a solution that creates a normal intersection that allows for full access. Terwilliger is another one that was studied previously. There's, obviously cost involved in rebuilding an intersection there. Part of the issue is that the rail line is above the roadway. There's a trestle that supports the rail in that section of that dash circle on the north end, and any roadway or connection extending east from 43 and south to the project area would have to cross over Tryon Creek. So there's clearly some challenges to that type of connection. With the wastewater treatment facility, which will be in this kind of large white building here, I don't know if you can see my hand circling around. The original plan was hugging the road way closer to the rail line. We would want to shift that out between the old or the current wastewater treatment facility and the new wastewater treatment facility. So that arrow that you see pointing down is a potential new path and new alignment into the district that would then potentially feed into internal streets that might serve redevelopment in the district. And of course, on the south end, just improving visibility and access at that current intersection, which is sort of the gateway and entrance to the Foundry Event Center and also to Park. We'd want to look at improving that connection, but making those both a north and south portal and access is a key consideration for us. The other is the status of the Tryon Creek Fish Culvert as we think about any improvements around the Terwilliger intersection. And we think long-term about the health of Tryon Creek and how that interrelates with Foothills Park as a public access area. We've had some initial conversations with the Tryon Creek Watershed Council, and so we're kind of up to speed on where the culvert project is and who's had jurisdiction over that. But we want to continue to have those conversations. There's also been some studies from Metro's side of the table, which is to look at a potential bridge crossing, and that was envisioned as a pedestrian and bike crossing from Terwilliger across the Willamette River that would then connect over to the Milwaukee side of the Willamette. And I think that's another project we'd like to get some more information on in terms of its status. And I see Kara has her hand raised, so let me pause.
Yeah, I just had a question because I haven't heard lately what's been going on with the Fish Culvert project. Does that still potentially include a pedestrian undercrossing, or is that kind of off the table?
I think in a general sense, that project is more or less stalled at this point. I think it's kind of in need of a champion, more or less, as far as I can tell. But it is still, I think it's just unfunded. Maybe is the technical status of that, but I'm not sure if I think the last time we actually spoke to folks about this, they were actually uncertain as to what the final sort of project would have included, whether it would have included pedestrian access or not. So that was certainly explored, but I guess it's all to say that it can continue to be explored, I suppose, in future discussions because it is stalled and needs to kind of get some momentum, in its sort of status. I think maybe as a potential sort of item related to this rezoning, we can help to maybe advance that conversation a bit. But yeah, it's stalled for at least the time being.
Okay,
So
I was just curious.
Yeah, and Alexis here, who's on the call, she has more intimate knowledge and shared conversation with us and Amy, who's with BES, who was leading the effort for the Culvert project. And the sort of final preferred plan, they went through a number of sort of cost revisions to get costs down. And so I don't believe in the final preferred that there was an undercrossing underpass as a part of the culvert. What they landed on was a 35-foot wide opening, 12 feet tall, and that would be an open channel. Continuous would have a cap on it basically over that culvert to provide that good access and flow. And so that was generally the plan for it. And the cost, I think, landed in around the 80 million range. It was originally around 100 million. So yes, that is an unfunded project, but they did go through engineering. And I don't know, Alexis, do you have more you want to add?
No, the cost wasn't originally 100. It was landing at about 80. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had been authorized to spend 50, and just due to increasing costs, that basically led to the city of Portland having to take a bit of a step back because it's outside of the city of Portland proper and a couple of other reasons. So, yeah, it's a project that would still move forward. And so essentially, Kira, the tunnel was part of the conversation when they were going to be tunneling to create the new culvert. And so that open cut shift was what changed the idea of there being a pedestrian tunnel.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So future funding and engineering might land somewhere different as different partners come to the table.
And it may be that Lake Oswego takes on a larger role in that effort in the future. At least that's what we're hearing from BES side, the Bureau of Environmental Services, that with the shifting of the jurisdiction around the wastewater treatment facility, priorities sort of change a bit. So the players who may need to step in are maybe different than they are now, but the core is still a group that can be accessed. But there'll be a bit of a kind of a reset and trying to work through that project. So we're learning a little bit. Thanks, Alexis, for that meeting the other day and bringing Amy on board. Another thing that we don't have much knowledge on is just the status of the Foothills substation in terms of its function and what the long-term plans are for that. There's really two substations that Foothills Road kind of traverses in between. So we're glad to have Syringa and Mr. Spencer here as well. So thank you for being available. We know we're gonna want to touch base with you all to understand the life cycle of that facility and how future development might tap into that or somehow navigate that type of infrastructure. The Willamette Shore trolley, we have limited information other than what we've sort of gathered online. So we're glad to learn. We're happy to learn more about how that facility is working and what that might mean for the future of the district. So I don't know if either from PGE side or from Willamette Trolley, if there's anything you all want to share today. It's not critical. We are going to want to set up meetings with you individually, but yeah, if folks want to just kind of give us your 2 cents on your relationship to the district, that would be fun to hear. Maybe the trolley folks would be good people to start if I can put you on the spot.
Maybe we can stop sharing the slide too.
Sure.
Hello. So I'm Elizabeth. I work for Metro, and we are part of the Willamette Shore Trolley Line Consortium, which is a partnership with the City of Portland, City of Lake Oswego, Metro, TriMet, and I'm going to be forgetting somebody. It used to include many more folks, the counties, and has been pared back. But where that project is right now, there was an intensive study on adding transit in the corridor, and there was a locally preferred alternative and an draft environmental impact statement that was conducted. And the locally preferred was adding streetcar, but it ran into some headwinds, and right now there wasn't enough community support for where it went through Dunthorpe and other parts of the corridor. And so that has been put on hold, and it's on hold also because of financial reasons. But at the same time, the right-of-way is actively protected in case something changes in the future. And it is also used currently for excursions. It's actually a really beautiful ride if you ever get a chance to go take that trolley through the tunnels and along the water all the way into South Waterfront. So in the meantime, we're holding on and seeing where it goes.
Great.
And I just wonder if you could just briefly kind of share from a more knowledgeable perspective what it takes to kind of maintain that right of way and the access and the trolley's relationship to that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of newer to this role, but what I can tell you is that as long as that corridor is being used, the right of way is protected. And so in the future, it could be used for something other than an excursion trolley, and it would be a fairly direct shot from Foothills into South Waterfront, where it could connect to the streetcar and go into downtown Portland. So the project itself is kind of, I guess, on hold right now, and so it's not the top tier priorities for TriMet right now. And the high capacity transit plan is looking at 82nd Avenue and TV Highway for the next big projects. But in the meantime, as long as it stays active as a right of way, and Lake Oswego is part of this too, then that right of way is protected and won't be handed over to private entities. So it could be revisited in the future. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but that's
that's good.
Yeah, just looking for a little bit more than we have to keep using it in order to actually have that be publicly accessible. And
yeah,
that's part of, the relationship of the running of that sort of trolley. I think it's obviously a great program, but that is somewhat needed to maintain
exactly. And it's run by volunteers right now. And it's kind of supported with the help of TriMet and Lake Oswego and Portland and Metro.
Thanks. Alex, you probably heard TriMet mentioned there. So.
Yes, my ears perked up. No, there's nothing that I wanted to add to what Elizabeth said. I think that's characterized accurately. But I wanted to know if we could have a quick, more in-depth update on the Oglo Bridge. And I wonder if anyone from Metro can speak to that as well.
I can share an image of that really quick here too, if that's okay.
Sure.
Let's see here.
And while you're pulling that up, I'll just say I'll cut to my point, which is that TriMet has a strong interest in transit also being able to use a connection like that. We hear constantly from Clackamas County and constituents that there's far too few east-west connections in the county, especially over the Willamette. And since there's about a 9-mile gap on the river, if we do reroutes or anything like that, we add significant mileage and we add significant time to riders' journeys as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if anybody from Metro is prepared to speak on that, but I think we are hoping to focus on that at an upcoming meeting. I'm not sure we have too many updates to share on that, other than it is, from my understanding, another kind of stalled project that was somewhat thwarted, I guess, based on some opposition, particularly from the Lake Oswego City Council. So I know that was a relatively recent decision, but it's been years since that occurred. So I don't have much more in terms of what's happened since then.
Yeah, we can look into a little more history for a future meeting, but other than just having read a few things, I don't have a lot to share other than it's stalled out. And it would be pretty expensive probably, and we're kind of strained right now.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know, Syringa or yeah, I was just saying Syringa or Ken. I'm not sure if you just want to touch base on this again. This is kind of the idea is that we can dig into this topic a little bit more at a future meeting. But if you wanted to just share anything, I guess, about the function of these substations, anything
Yeah.
here off the top of your head, at least.
So this is actually a single distribution substation. It is just that certain pieces of equipment are separated from other pieces by the road, but the two parcels serve as a unified distribution substation. This is critical infrastructure for the city of Lake Oswego. This is providing electricity to both the north and the south side of the lake. And so this substation is where the power is originating from, basically, all the way up to like the country club golf course, as well as up kind of McVeigh Road, I think, on the south side. So this serves Foothills, but it also serves the larger Lake Oswego community. As far as like upcoming plans, that's part of the reason why I wanted to attend and join this advisory committee, just to understand what the scope of the development projects are going to be, so that we can kind of understand what types of, new load we're going to be anticipating in the future. And with that information, I take that to the planning teams and I kind of assess what those growth projections are, take a look at infrastructure, and we just decide, are there any changes, modifications needed to support that growth. So right now, there's no plans to make significant, changes to the substation. There isn't a need now. We're able to serve, everything in the city. And so by participating in this, we can just make sure that that stays the case, between now and the future as all of this growth and development occurs. I guess another piece just to point out is there are very high voltage transmission lines coming into this site. And so those are also critical. The location of the substation, you also have to think about like the location of those transmission lines, and we do have to have both in order to have the functionality of delivering the power to the community.
Really appreciate
Thank you.
that. Thanks, Ringo.
Yeah.
I noticed, Nicole, your hand has been up for a while. Apologies for not getting around to you. Did you have a question or something to add?
I did have a question and just a couple comments. There are artworks that are currently existing that are in and around these different areas, particularly the D and E intersection with Highway 43, the large gateway sculpture there. And then there are pieces at and in and around the parks. So Foothills primarily. Also, my question was in regard to tribal involvement. How has the Grand Ronde and or different consultants been incorporated or going to be incorporated?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're right now going through what we're calling stakeholder identification, and what we've started to target. We're trying to be overt about reaching out to groups who are typically underrepresented, and so we've been talking to the adult community center to to tap into older communities in Lake Oswego. We're also talking to youth groups. We're going to meet later today with the Youth Leadership Council, but there's a variety of other youth councils that the city helps organize. So we're going to try to tap into multiples of those, as well as BIPOC organizations at the high school. And then from the tribal perspective, the route that we're kind of working to engage that group is through the Friends of Tryon Creek, and make some connections with those folks who are doing, who are actively engaged with Tryon Creek through the tribal community, not only in education but also in cultural type work. So we were gonna use that individual or that path as a way to tap into Grand Ron, and then see how we can branch out to a broader group, or maybe that's the appropriate venue because of the proximity to our project area. But so that is it's an important stakeholder, and it's who we're kind of massaging to figure out sort of who the important people are and where they meet so that we can go to them. That's part of been the effort as well, is that we're intending to go meet these people where they are. And so we're still uncovering that. If there are contacts or folks that you think are important for us to tap into, then that'd be great for you to share that with us.
Nicole, do you know Sarah Sistream?
Do very well.
Okay. Good. Well, she's been in our office. She's been in our office, and we continue to talk to her about getting connected to the Grand Ron. She is very close with them, that group, that community, doing work of art. She's interested in helping us. So
I think that would be nice, because it's not just Tryon Creek, but it's also the riverside.
Yes.
So there's all different kinds of layers of tribal involvement in terms of this place. And there's also the long in recorded historical time, there is the whole industry and story about what was located there as well.
Yes.
Sarah would be fantastic. She has a lot of great contacts at Grand Ronde, and is a really good educator just in terms of overall things like
Definitely.
plants.
She's been educating us already. So, and she's very, very open and patient. She knows this is an important project, and that there should be a focus here on activities that happened with our indigenous communities. So it's on our radar. The artwork also that is there now, definitely want to cherish and protect that.
Yeah.
I don't think that we do not. I mean, we can definitely, when we get into the framework and design, we want to celebrate those and keep those and retain those and add to those. So
right. Well, and I think that there's a real opportunity with all the different aspects of what this overall project is, not only with the wastewater treatment, but the whole plan as an ideal is really exciting in terms of something that could be a cohesive group of art interactions throughout the whole area. So utilizing what we not only have, but what we could do as well, instead of doing it kind of piecemeal.
Agreed. Yeah. And we're really big on storytelling as well. And we'd love to find what that several stories potentially could look like here. So yeah, we're definitely want to continue that line of thought. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there'll be lots of opportunities to think about, different sort of community gathering spaces, public spaces that could be created through our planning efforts. And I think those are often nicely activated by public art. So I think that's part of the conversation there too, of course. So yeah, lots of opportunities that could arise here throughout the, primarily probably the later stages of the process, of course, when we get more into design. But of course, there's a lot of things that need to inform what that could be, that we need to uncover along the way. And I just want to note, it looks like we have a couple people that arrived after we did the introductions earlier. We are about to wrap up, so I just want to quickly sort of acknowledge that we have Madison Thiesing here from the city manager's office. I think you're just kind of stepping in because our appointed liaison or sort of representative from the city manager's office is leaving the city, Amanda Watson, unfortunately, from city manager's office, but she was the sustainability program manager, I believe, is no longer with the city. So happy to have Madison, regardless of the reason, but that is the role that she's filling. But anyway, sorry, I guess I already introduced you, Madison, but the idea is for you to give a brief introduction too.
No, that was perfect. I'm just subbing in. I've worked with some of you already before. I am in the city manager's office, and I'm here just to support Eric and the full team. And so thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thanks, Madison. And then I noticed, Carrie, you were able to join us probably halfway through the meeting or so. I think you would probably let me know about that. So do you want to give us a brief introduction and let us know who you're representing?
I'm Carrie Merton. I'm with ODOT. I'm the rail crossing compliance specialist. So if you needed something with rail crossings, I'd be the person to talk to.
Definitely lots of interactions with rail crossing in the area, and a pretty immediate sort of potential barrier, but at least a complication that comes into play when we think about access. So definitely lots of conversations to continue.
Yes, definitely.
Good to see you again, Carrie. Thanks for being a part of this.
Yeah, thanks to everyone, really. I mean, it's great to have you all here. Again, this is almost certainly going to be the least technical of our technical advisory committee meetings, in that we're giving mostly an overview and talking about introductions. But yeah, glad to sort of finally see all of you folks in one place, see all of your faces, and have everybody here as a group. There's a lot of cumulative knowledge and combined expertise in the virtual room here. So again, really appreciate all of you being involved, and we'll continue to lean on you all as we go through the process and get more detailed in our discussions. Jason or Will, anything else you wanted to say to wrap things up?
No, thank you. Yeah, again, I think we appreciate it. Will, if you have anything.
No, we're just going to have,
you all.
hopefully we all have a lot of fun looking at this, and it's going to evolve over time. We're going to kind of design at the pace of trust here, and really just enjoy the discovery phase of this and learn as much as we can. So we hope to learn from you and evolve the design and have some fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and similar to, the comment from Nicole, if there's anybody that you think like, hey, you should really connect with this person. I know this person, and we really are on that phase right now, where we're trying to utilize the connections we know about, but also kind of expand those connections and branch out. So yeah, just don't hesitate to reach out with some suggestions if you might have them. Anyway, thanks again. Thanks so much for being involved here. And, in terms of our next meeting, we don't have a specific date. Of course, we have a rough time that we're that we've identified for Wednesdays at between 1 and 2. We are right now in the process of sort of reviewing internally some pretty large technical type documents with our analysis of existing conditions. Really, we're calling it a field guide, but it's really the cumulative result of our task C phase, which is the inventory and analysis phase for this project. So a lot of detailed information to dig into that we will be able to share with you all before the next meeting, and we'll take it from there, I suppose.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you. Talk
Thanks.
soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good meeting you all.
Bye.
You too.
You too.